so I want to tap into you guys, some of your experience in history. Where did you first learn the value of strong team culture, or who embodied it best for you? Where did you really feel it and felt that it was real? What was the circumstance? Who were the players? That kind of thing. Tynan, I'll start with you.
Oh, this is a tough one. People have asked me this a lot, like, why did I get into like the company culture space? And the great answer I have is that there wasn't somebody. And so I went down a path of trying to see maybe there are companies out there that people actually like to work at, because I was working in probably 3 or 4 organizations at that point, and I didn't like to work there. And so that was really my motivation, to search out ones that did. And then I never really, to be honest, to this day, I haven't worked in my ideal company culture environment yet. I've often gone to other places and helped them create theirs, but I haven't found that for myself yet, which is so interesting that I'm in that space and have a podcast about it. I think it's because I'm so curious about trying to find it. And I mean, definitely what I know is that there isn't an ideal, there isn't the right way to do culture or the wrong way. But I mean, also I have a big background in the church, and often saw that that was a place where I saw people thrive. I saw people empowered. I saw people given, their skills, the wings to fly. And there was a lot less sort of this, I mean, there's problems in the church, don't get me wrong, but there was sort of this like, oh, could that just be duplicated in the workplace? Because I see there's so much greatness there, and people feel hope. They come and receive, great things, and they do great things for the world. That's what businesses should be doing too. And yet the culture was so much more cohesive there than in business. So I think that was what motivated me, and probably the first place where I saw the light, kind of connect with great culture and, something that made me feel like it was great was in the church, probably first.
Judy.
Oh, no, I'm good. So I have something framed on my wall, and it is the decertification vote of a group of employees from Thunder Bay, Ontario, from a period of time in my career when I worked with Frito-Lay Canada. And there was a group of folks that certified to unionize. And the union's game plan was to take the entire West, started in Thunder Bay, and then they were moving right across the West. And my territory was Thunder Bay to Victoria. So I ended up negotiating, with help, obviously, from some folks in the US, the first contract in Thunder Bay, and was on and playing an awful lot in every warehouse, plant situation, walking the floor and listening. What it was working well, what wasn't, because I was hell-bent on making sure that this one contract negotiation we were doing was the example of how we never wanted to become. And so we negotiated the contract, and 2 years later, it was unheard of in a lot of places, 2 years to get an employee group to decertify and to decide that they were much better off having a relationship directly with their employer versus a third party. I'm not anti-union. I think there's a time and place for them, but in the context of the business that I was a part of and the relationships that I built, the abuse and the culture that existed that created the environment for them to bring in a third party, we deserved it. We being, I didn't own it. I wasn't part of the organization then. I was still fairly new, but we earned it. And then it became my role as sort of the lead in HR and organizational development to start to educate us across the organization around what is it going to look like, sound like, and feel like for us to never have to go through this again. And so I say, I mean, the day the vote came in, I mean, I have the certificate. It was framed for me, and it hangs on the wall in my office to this day as a reminder of why relationships and connection matter. At home, at school, at work, because when we all feel like we belong and that what we do matters to somebody, then we're able to talk about what are the problems that need plans and what are the opportunities that are going to get us better results. But when we forget all of that, that's when we start to create space or gaps in our ability to perform and deliver to the customers and or to the people that we decided when we started this business, whatever business we're in, mattered most.
Mhm.
So that's my story, and it was a big deal for me personally. It was huge learning.
What about you, Chiyoko?
Oh, yes. So I've had the luxury of working for a number of companies that had just great culture. So it's hard to choose one, because it's, the first time I'd have to go back, and I worked for a company called White Spot Restaurants. And they were based out of BC, a company that was started in 1928 in British Columbia. So I joined them, but it was a company, it was a family-run owned business. They've been around for a long time. So that was my first taste of culture, but I was also young in my career. I think what stands out the most for me as a strong, amazing culture is the Century 21 culture. I always say when I'm out there and I'm presenting and stuff, like gold runs through my veins. I feel it so deep inside of me, and I feel so connected, and I feel so supported, and I feel like, everyone is supportive of each other. And I know the real estate industry, I think people sometimes have perceptions of the real estate industry and real estate agents about them being, kind of out for themselves, and not at Century 21. Like, everyone's super collaborative. They support each other. Brokers will support other brokers. Agents will support each other. It is truly, it's just so bizarre that it hits me so deep in the heart. And I think that's what true culture is, right? It's just when it almost takes over your body, and I would do anything for the company. I would do anything for an agent or for a broker. So I think that it's not the first time I've experienced amazing culture, but I think it's the one that has most resonated with me so deeply.